Desperate girl went barefoot to interview Millionaire CEO selected her over 25 candidates. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows on the cracked pavement as Lily rushed toward the towering glass building of Titan Industries. The air crackled with tension. Today was her moment, but a sudden jolt of panic gripped her heart. She had forgotten her shoes. It felt absurd and raw, but something about going barefoot seemed oddly liberating, a rebellion against a world that demanded perfection. Each step felt electric against the ground, sharp rocks biting at her tender soles as whispers of disbelief chased her. Could a millionaire CEO really look past the surface? Inside, the lobby was a whirlwind of polished marble and hushed voices. Employees shuffled through, their eyes darting, judging. It was a shark tank of ambition, and here stood Lily, with nothing but her dreams and a pounding heart. She smoothed her hair back, feeling the slickness of sweat pooling at her temples. Everyone else wore designer suits, crisp and immaculate, while she, too nervous to focus on anything but the throbbing in her chest, felt out of place like a flower bursting through cracked concrete. As she waited, she spotted a flicker of movement. A figure, tall and imposing, glanced her way. The CEO himself, Ethan Steele, known as a genius and a mystery, hovered like a specter. A mix of fascination and dread danced in her chest. His reputation whispered tales in the hallway, success built on risk and wild decisions. What could he want with someone like her? The question tugged at her mind like a child pulling at a sleeve, refusing to let go. The interview room loomed ahead. The door, heavy and intimidating, felt like a portal to another world, one where choice is a game of fate. As she stepped inside, the energy shifted. Ethan leaned back in his chair, sharp eyes penetrating, scanning her mud-streaked dress and bare feet. The silence between them was dense, thick like fog, and then, he smiled. An odd glimmer of something, interest? Curiosity? Flared in the depths of his gaze. Why barefoot? He asked, his voice smooth yet spine-chilling. Lily's throat went dry. What could she say? A chance, a choice, a leap of faith? Instead, her voice trembled out an answer, raw and honest, cutting the silence like glass, because I believe in being real. The tension in the room tightened, and she swore she could hear her heart thudding louder than the faint hum of the air conditioning. What was her truth worth in a world of polished illusions? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let us connect. Ethan's eyes narrowed, scrutinizing her with a piercing intensity that made Lily feel simultaneously exposed and exhilarated. It was as if he could see straight into her soul, measuring her worth against the expectations of the cold corporate world surrounding them. Real? He echoed, raising an eyebrow. In a place like this? The spark in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. Had she crossed some invisible line? Was her honesty an act of bravery or sheer foolishness? The second stretched, and the room felt uncomfortably small. A lump formed in her throat, making it hard to breathe. Look, she blurted, desperate to shift the weight of scrutiny off her. I know I don't belong here, but I want to learn. I want to work hard and prove myself. The corners of Ethan's mouth twitched. Did he find her amusing? In a flash, she felt the heat of her earlier defiance turn into shame. He leaned forward, a glint of something dangerously playful in his eyes. What if I told you this job isn't about looking the part? This company is fueled by unorthodox decisions. His voice dropped to a whisper, sending chills through her. Would that scare you? Scare me? No. It motivates me. she exclaimed, the fire igniting within her again. Interesting, he said, folding his arms, a calculating look crossing his face. But let me warn you, this isn't just an ordinary job. Here, every choice has consequences. A cool breeze swept through the room, making Lily shiver as his words hung heavily in the air. She watched as he moved to the window, glancing out at the bustling street below. The world felt so far away from this enclave of power. Do you know why I selected you? He asked without turning. Did I catch your attention with my bare feet? A chuckle escaped him, breaking the tension, but it quickly faded. You're unconventional, Miss Harris. It's that raw nerve, that willingness to defy the norm. Lily's heart raced. Was he about to offer her the job? A thrill surged through her. Was it hope or dread? Each beat of her heart seemed to echo inside the quiet room, waiting for the climactic moment. Suddenly, the door burst open. A man in a tailored suit rushed in, his face flushed, eyes wide with urgency. Ethan, we need to talk now. Lily's heartbeat quickened. Who was this intruder? Can it wait? Ethan shot back, irritation flickering in his gaze. No. It can't. There's been a major breach. You need to come with me. Lily's stomach dropped. A breach? Was this the kind of chaos he thrived in? The man's presence shattered the fragile bubble of the moment, making everything feel volatile. Ethan's expression hardened. Fine. We'll continue this later. He turned back to her, the glimmer of possibility fading. Don't leave just yet, Lily. I haven't made my final decision. With that, he swept out of the room, leaving Lily alone, her pulse pounding. What had just happened? An interview, an offer, a disaster looming like a dark cloud. She was still trying to process it when the man in the suit glanced back at her. You should go. This place isn't safe right now. The stark urgency in his voice sent a wave of fear crashing over her. She stumbled out of her chair, torn between the chance of her dreams and the threat of the unknown. Looking back at the door, she felt a weight in her chest. What did he mean? Why wasn't it safe? She stepped away, but something stopped her, a whisper of ambition, a faint hope. Should she trust her instincts and run, or was this the moment she had been waiting for? The echo of Ethan's words hovered in her mind as the tension twisted like a knife. The weight of decisions loomed before her, thick and suffocating. Which path would she choose? The answer danced just beyond her reach, leaving her on the edge of uncertainty. Lily stood frozen, her heart racing, as the urgency of the stranger's voice echoed in her ears. This place isn't safe. The shock rippled through her, igniting her flight response. She glanced at the door, torn. Should she follow him or wait for Ethan? The walls felt like they were closing in. She took a step toward the door but hesitated. What could be happening? A breach? Panic stirred in her chest, unraveling the hope from moments ago. Miss Harris. The man in the suit was moving toward her now, his brow furrowed. You need to get out. There's no time. But Ethan, her voice cracked. What if Ethan needed her? Forget about him. He snapped, and she winced at the urgency in his tone. This isn't a game. If you know what's good for you, you'll leave. Now. The weight of his words crashed down on her. She felt lightheaded. A million thoughts cascaded through her mind, each one more chaotic than the last. She could run, escape this tangled web of uncertainty. But she was so close to something big, something that could change everything. No. I want to go, she said, surprising herself with the firmness of her voice. What's really happening, and who are you? The man's jaw clenched, frustration rippling across his handsome features. I can't explain everything now. Just trust me. They're after something here, and it's not just files or data, he said, glancing nervously at the door, as if expecting someone to burst in any moment. There are people involved, powerful people. You don't want to be in the crossfire. A sinking feeling etched itself into her gut. What did she get herself into? This wasn't just an interview anymore, it was a dangerous game. But there was Ethan, the enticing enigma who set off a spark within her. She couldn't just abandon the chance to understand the shadowy world he inhabited. A loud crash echoed from the hallway, making her jump. The man's eyes widened. "We don't have time," he urged again, reaching out for her wrist. "Wait." She jerked back, heart pounding as she stepped away, wrestling with the tangled emotions. What is going to happen to Ethan? He'll be fine. But you need to get out now. The sharpness of his command sent a chill down her spine. She could see the raw fear in his eyes, fear that mirrored her own. But the weight of responsibility clung to her. In a sudden burst of conviction, Lily made her move. "No. I want to leave him. If there's danger, we stick together." The man sighed, exasperated, but before he could argue, she turned and rushed towards the door, ready to face whatever awaited them both. As she swung it open, the dimly lit hallway unfurled before her, alive with distant shouts and angry voices. The atmosphere crackled with impending chaos. Would Ethan really be okay? Lily. The sound of her name echoed through the corridor, and she froze at the sound of his voice, familiar, wounded, and slicing through the clamor. Ethan. That warmth inside her flared again, fighting against the ice settling in her chest. Without thinking, she dashed down the hallway towards him, adrenaline surging in her veins, but the man in the suit caught her arm. "Stop. You can't know. I have to help him." As she tore away from him, she could hear more commotion building. She pressed forward, her breath frantic. She didn't know what she would find, but her gut twisted, urging her on. From around the corner, just as she neared, a figure loomed. Was it Ethan? The shadowy outline burst into view, but it wasn't just Ethan. Two strangers flanked him, their faces hard, menacing. "Get out of the way." One of them barked, eyes locking onto Lily. Fear gripped her, brain screaming at her to run. But just as she was about to shout for Ethan, the lights flickered, plunging the hallway into a suffocating darkness. Time froze. "Lily." Ethan's voice vibrated with tension, but before she could respond, chaos erupted. Screams mixed with shouts as shadows collided. She felt herself pushed back, stumbling and scrambling to regain her footing, heart pounding like a drum. "What is happening?" she gasped, panic wrapping around her, and as the darkness settled heavier, a horrifying realization gnawed at her. Choosing this moment was leading her to something far beyond her comprehension. What powers were swirling in the shadows? And would she survive to discover the truth? The choice was no longer hers to make. Ethan's voice pierced through the chaos, but the screaming and shoving engulfed it. Heart pounding, Lily squinted into the dark, searching. Where was he? Before she could catch her breath, the lights flickered back on. In that split second, clarity emerged. Ethan stood there, but the two men were closing in, their faces twisted with hostility. "Get away from him!" Lily shouted, hands trembling but determination igniting her spirit. One of the men laughed, the sound cold and mocking. "You think you can save him? Leave him alone." She took a step forward, adrenaline pooling in her veins, but the other man pushed Ethan aside, shoving him back against the wall. Ethan staggered, his breath escaping in short bursts. "Lily, don't," he yelled, his eyes wide with urgency, filled with a mixture of fear and something else, worn desperation, maybe? "Why are you doing this?" Panic prickled her skin, a shiver racing down her spine. "Let him go." "Why?" "He knows too much." The first man advanced, fists clenched, eyes glinting with danger. The hallway shrank around her. Screams faded into muffled echoes, and for a moment, it felt like the world outside had paused, holding its breath, waiting. No. With a surge of courage, Lily dashed forward again. She had to reach Ethan. She had to make them see she wouldn't back down. But then, the man lunged. Time slowed. In that heartbeat, an instinct kicked in. Lily dove to the side. She felt the rush of air as his hand reached just above her head, missing her by inches. Wasting no time, she sprang up and pushed toward Ethan, grabbing his arm tightly. "We have to go. Now." A throaty growl from behind them sent a ripple of terror through her, but she didn't look back. They bolted down the hallway together, Lily's heart racing in sync with the pounding of her feet. "Where do we go?" Ethan gasped, a hint of uncertainty creeping into his voice, but his strength was anchored in her grasp. Lily glanced over her shoulder. The men were gaining ground. "Anywhere but here." They dove around a corner, her gut twisting as the hallway branched into 3 more paths, uncertainty sparking inside her. Each direction felt like a gamble, but they had to choose. No room for hesitation. "Right!" she cried, rushing toward the door at the end. The weight of footsteps behind them thudded ominously, each step echoing their impending doom. As they approached the door, a terrible realization clawed at her: they were cornered. "No!" Ethan shouted, addressing the men who were swiftly closing the gap. Lily threw open the door, only to find a stairwell spiraling down into darkness. She hesitated, everyone inside her screaming to run, but she couldn't tell what lay ahead. "Come on." Ethan grabbed her waist and pulled her inside. The echo of their steps fused with heavy breaths as they descended. Every heartbeat felt loud in her ears. The air was thick, heavy with fear and uncertainty. Would they find a way out, or fall into a trap? Just before they reached the bottom, the lights flickered again, then back to darkness. A chill enveloped them. Shadows danced, and Lily's heart dropped. She felt the cold sweat creeping up the back of her neck. "Ethan, I don't like this," her voice fluttered, tinged with panic. "I don't either. But we can't go back now," he replied, gripping her hand tightly as they reached a metal door. With a frantic push, they burst through, emerging into a wide open space, illuminated by a flickering light. What lay beyond sent their shockwaves rippling through her. Rows of computers lined the walls, and strange symbols glowed ominously on screens. The room was alive with whispers and the relentless clicking of keys. What had they stumbled into? "Guys!" a voice called, and Lily turned, her pulse quickening. A familiar face was there, a tech analyst she recognized from her interview rounds, but his face was taut with fear. "They know we're here," he said breathlessly, eyes darting toward the exit. "Who?" Lily gasped, feeling the air thicken with tension. "Those men, they're planning something. We need to get out," or a loud crash came from the door they just passed through. The men had followed them. "Run!" shouted the analyst, fear driving his words. But before they could scramble into action, the lights went out, plunging them into darkness once again. Lily's heart raced, limbs frozen in panic. What did they walk into? And as the ominous sounds of approaching footsteps filled the room, thrusting them deeper into shadows, she realized one terrifying fact: there was no way back. Was this the end, or just the beginning? Panic coursed through Lily as darkness swallowed them whole. The only sounds were her rapid breathing and the muffled thuds of feet approaching. She could barely see, but she felt Ethan's tense grip on her hand and the weight of fear bearing down like a heavy shroud. "Where are they?" she whispered, her heart racing as she strained to hear. The crash of the door they'd just come through echoed loudly, a chilling reminder of how close danger loomed. Then, like an unseen weight lifting, a distant sound broke through the ominous silence, a faint, metallic clatter. The analyst's voice sliced through the darkness. "This way. Over here." Lily felt a pull inside, a desperate urge to follow. She squeezed Ethan's hand tighter, and they stumbled forward, guided only by the whispers threading through the unseen space. "Move fast," the analyst urged, urgency flooding into his tone. They darted behind a cluster of computers, their surfaces cold and industrial, the glow of their screens casting an eerie, flickering light against the walls. Lily peered around the towering machines, fear knotting in her stomach. A new noise grew nearer, the heavy sound of footsteps, methodical and relentless. They were coming for them. "Stay low," Ethan murmured, a fierce determination igniting his to fight for survival. Lily dropped to her knees, her pulse pounding in her ears. With every passing second, she felt more trapped, like a moth drawn to something deadly. She glimpsed Ethan beside her, his expression a mix of dread and resolve. "Where do we go now?" she breathed, her mind racing for answers. "There's an emergency exit," the analyst whispered sharply. "If we can reach it before they find us." Hope flickered dimly, but it felt almost far away. "Can we?" "Yes. We have to," he insisted, adrenaline transforming his fear into fire. He motioned with his hand, pointing toward a door at the far end of the room. It slashed through the flickering shadows like a beacon. Before they could devise a plan, the door behind them splintered open. Light poured into the room, revealing the intruders, silhouettes masked in anger. The worst realization hit Lily like a punch to the gut: they were outnumbered. "Now!" Ethan shouted. Without hesitation, they sprang into motion, sprinting towards the exit. The air rushed past them, thick with the scent of metal and fear. Behind them, furious shouts echoed, feet pounding the ground, closing in like a predator on its prey. They barely made it to the door. Lily pushed it open, her heart racing erratically, and they tumbled into the dim corridor beyond. "Go!" the analyst urged, propelling them forward. They dashed through the hallway, gasping for breath, but time was their enemy. The sounds behind them multiplied, fierce voices shouting in anger. A chill shot through Lily's veins. Would they actually escape this nightmare? Rounding a corner, she caught a glimpse of something ahead, a set of stairs leading upwards, a potential escape route. "There!" she called, desperation fueling her strides. But before they could reach the stairs, a sudden flash of light caught her eye, illuminating a figure standing at the top, grinning. Lily froze. "Who is that?" Fear gnawed at her mind, pooling in her stomach like ice. The figure stepped closer, and recognition hit her with the force of a freight train. It was someone from the company's upper ranks, someone she had seen many times during her interviews. The smug smirk was unmistakable, but why was he here? "Stop right there!" he shouted, his voice reverberating through the corridor. Ethan halted beside her, confusion and rage flickering across his face. "What do you want?" But the man didn't answer. Instead, he raised a hand, and with a chilling calmness, he signaled to the men pursuing them. A jolt of raw panic shot through Lily. They were trapped. No way forward, no path back. With only a heartbeat to react, she turned to Ethan. "What do we do now?" Her voice shook, eyes wide, across the dark corridor. Sinister laughter echoed from their pursuers. The walls felt like they were closing in. Could they outsmart this hazy darkness? Or was this spiraling situation their final act? In that moment, one question loomed above all: what had they uncovered that was so dangerous, it warranted this relentless pursuit? And as footsteps echoed toward them, the real horror began to unveil itself. The man at the top of the stairs loomed like a wall of chaos. Lily's stomach dropped. She felt the heat of Ethan beside her, his anger radiating like the flickering screens around them. "Step away from the exit!" the man barked, his voice cold and heavy, slicing through the suffocating air. Ethan's grip tightened around Lily's wrist, his fingers pressing into her skin. "We can't stay here," he hissed, panic pouring off him. "What do you want from us?" Lily cried out, her voice barely a whisper. She felt small, terrified. "Answers," the man replied, arrogance creeping into his tone. With a sudden movement, he pulled out a small device, its screen glowing ominously as it whirred to life. Lily's breath hitched in her throat. Was that a weapon? Please! She screamed, desperation spilling out. We haven't done anything wrong. Then you won't mind telling me what you've uncovered, the man challenged, a twisted smile creeping onto his face. Lily glanced at Ethan, who shook his head slowly, fear washing over his features. We don't know anything. He protested. The footsteps behind them grew louder, echoing like a drumbeat of doom. They had no time. They were running out of options. Run! Ethan shouted suddenly, pulling Lily into action. They bolted toward the stairs, but the man stepped forward, blocking their way, his confidence unwavering. Lily's heart pounded against her ribs. She felt that icy grip of hopelessness. Could they fight their way out? Just then, lights flickered, sending dark shadows dancing on the walls. The flickering pulse was almost mocking. They needed a plan. Fast. Ethan! She yelled, her voice trembling, urgency flooding her veins. What's the plan? Get away from him. Ethan growled, pushing her behind him as he faced the man. But the grin on the man's face twisted, forming into something darker. He raised the device, and Lily felt a surge of dread like a thunderstorm brewing. Back off! Ethan shouted, his breath ragged. Time slowed. The noise of approaching feet drowned out their voices, and the bright light from the device cut through the darkness like a knife. Then, without waiting for a response, Ethan lunged at the man, his desperation fueling a reckless bravery. Lily gasped, her heart in her throat. The world around them blurred, their fate hanging by a thread. Then chaos erupted. A crack of violence reverberated through the air, and Lily's breath hitched as she clutched at her chest. Would Ethan make it? Would they both? The footsteps thundered closer, and the man's laughter echoed, a cruel taunt. In a flurry of bodies and shouts, Lily was pulled back by the force of the crowd, a sharp panic igniting her instincts. Get out of the way! Someone shouted. But who? The kaleidoscope of chaos blurred her reality, and all she could feel was the pressure tightening around her, the weight of fear pushing her down. She fought against it, but time was slipping through her fingers like sand. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated through the corridor, sending a jolt up Lily's spine. It was the sound of something shattering, a sign of the impending storm. And then it hit her, the choice they had. Either fight or flee into the unknown. Lily! Ethan's voice broke through the whirlwind. She looked to him, their eyes locking for a brief moment. The resolve flickering there made her chest ache. But the darkness swarmed around them, and even as they stood on the precipice of action, one last question tore through her mind: would they ever find the truth, or was this the end of their story? And right before everything turned to chaos, beyond the horror, was there still a glimmer of hope waiting to be discovered? Ethan's lunge hit the man squarely in the chest, and for a heartbeat, Lily felt a wave of hope crash over her. But the man's laughter twisted into a growl as he shoved Ethan back, hard. Time froze, and the world narrowed to a flashing, chaotic blur. Get off him! Lily screamed, launching forward, but she was only one girl against a storm of fury. She couldn't let fear paralyze her. The crowd behind them surged, screams rising like smoke. Faces morphed into distorted masks of panic and confusion. The exit was still blocked, but her heart beat like a war drum. Ethan stumbled, just trying to get back on his feet. Lily, run! Now! The raw desperation in his voice made her legs feel heavy. But she couldn't abandon him, they were in this together. The man recovered quickly, his face darkening with rage. You think you can run from the truth? He pointed the device at Ethan, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat threatening. Ethan! The scream tore from her throat, louder than the chaos surrounding them. But it wasn't just Ethan in danger. The energy in the room shifted, an unseen force pulling the crowd tighter, understanding dawning on their faces. They were all witnesses now, and the stakes were rising. "Someone help!" Lily shouted, desperation twisting her insides. She felt raw panic strangling her. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the nightmarish scene, and suddenly lights flickered out. Darkness enveloped them, and a collective gasp rose, drowning out the chaos. In that moment, everything changed. Lily felt a surge of adrenaline. This was her chance. She grabbed Ethan's arm, pulling him toward the staircase when someone barreled past them in the shadows. A figure, dark and agile, darted through the crowd, like a whisper in the dark. "Follow them." It was a command, but who issued it? She couldn't see through the pitch-black void. The man shot after the shadow, rage lighting up his features. Ethan pulled Lily closer, urgency flooding his voice. "We can't stay. Go." With a trembling heart, she sprinted down the stairs, following the retreating figure. The chaos spiraled behind them, sounds of crashing and shouts reverberating in her ears. Each step felt like a leap of faith, a plunge into the unknown. They reached the bottom and emerged into a dimly lit alley. The air was cold, biting, and it hit her like a wave. She gasped for breath, trying to make sense of the chaos. The dark figure had vanished. Where did they go? Lily panted, scanning the shadows. Ethan turned, piercing her with wide, fearful eyes. "I don't know, but we have to move. They're going to come after us." Just then, a distant siren wailed, breaking through the thick tension in the air. It was a chilling reminder that safety was still out of reach. "Come on," Ethan urged, stumbling forward. But as they turned to run, a low growl echoed from the alleyway behind them, the sinister sound cutting deeper than any blade. Nowhere to hide. Lily's breath hitched, fear tightening around her chest like a vice. The darkness felt alive, closing in. Where were they supposed to go now? Would they find safety or fall deeper into the nightmare? The uncertainty gnawed at her, as she took another step into the unknown, and with that step, two paths lay ahead. But would they dare choose either? Lily's heart raced as she turned to Ethan, his eyes dark with worry. "What was that?" she gasped, breathless from fear and adrenaline. The growl echoed again, sending chills down her spine. It felt like something primal was stalking them. Ethan tugged at her hand, pulling her into the shadows of the alley. "We need to keep moving. They'll find us." His voice was sharp, urgent. The adrenaline buzzing through her veins made her feel alive, but terror clung to her like a wet blanket. They darted deeper into the narrow space, the cold brick on her bare feet biting painfully. She gritted her teeth, forcing herself to focus. The sirens were closer now, sirens that should offer hope, but instead felt like a countdown to danger. Each wail echoed louder in her ears, and with each sound, dread swelled up inside her. "Ethan, what about that guy with the device?" she asked, her mind racing. The memory of his twisted smile haunted her. "I don't know, but he won't stop until he gets what he wants." The fury in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. "We can't let him find us." Suddenly, a flash of movement in the darkness caught her eye. A figure slipped around the corner, their silhouette sharp against the alley's shadows. Panic surged within her, but something in the way they moved, smooth, precise, told her this was no ordinary chase. "Who's that?" she whispered, freezing in her tracks. Ethan pressed closer, trying to peer through the dimness. I can't tell." Just then, a loud crash from behind them shattered the stillness. The man burst into the alley, eyes blazing, his device glowing like a malevolent star. "Nowhere to run," he roared, the sound reverberating off the walls like thunder. Lily felt a cold wave of fear wash over her. "Ethan, we have to hide." She grabbed his arm, dragging him towards a shadowy recess. They squeezed into a narrow space behind a dumpster, the stench of trash nauseating. Hearts pounding in unison, they held their breath, waiting. Lily could hear the man's footsteps pounding closer. Each step felt like a drumbeat, reminding her of the danger that lurked so near. What if he finds us? Her voice was barely a whisper, shaking with fear. Shoo! Ethan hissed, pressing closer to her. She could feel the heat of his body, the desperation radiating off him. Time stretched, thick and suffocating as the footsteps stopped right outside their hiding place. The man's breathing was heavy, erratic. I know you're here. You can't hide from me. Her heart thudded against her ribs, a wild animal desperate to escape. Then, just as suddenly, there was the sound of a clash, something heavy hitting the ground. The man cursed, and they heard him stumble backward. No! Get back! Lily couldn't help it, she peeked out. The sight took her breath away. The dark figure from before emerged, moving like a shadow, expertly avoiding the man's frantic grasp. Come on! The figure called, urging them with an outstretched hand, eyes flickering with urgency. Ethan hesitated, looking between Lily and the stranger. Can we trust them? I don't know, but we don't have a choice. She shouted, her mind racing, her pulse hammering. They darted out from behind the dumpster, racing toward the figure as the man erupted in fury. Stop! Get back here! He howled, his voice dripping with venom. The stranger beckoned furiously, eyes wide with intensity. This way! They sprinted after the figure, air propelling them forward. But with each step, doubt gnawed at her. Who was this person? A friend or another threat? Lily glanced back. The man was recovering, spitting curses as he pulled himself to his feet, fury lighting his expression. Go! Go! Ethan roared, pulling her along. As they rounded a corner, the alley opened up into a maze of streets. But where would they go? Was any place truly safe now? Ahead, a door loomed, slightly ajar, promising refuge but also more uncertainty. Would they find safety inside, or was it another trap? Lily's chest tightened as they reached the entrance, the energy around them shifting with the weight of the moment. The shadowy figure paused, glancing back at the two of them, eyes flickering with something she couldn't decipher, hope or betrayal. Are you coming? Ethan looked at her, eyes blazing with resolve. This moment could change everything. Or lead them right into the jaws of danger. What would they choose? They slipped through the door and tumbled into a dimly lit room, where the smell of damp wood mixed with something metallic. The figure was already glancing around, eyes darting, scanning for threats. Lily felt an uneasy knot tighten in her stomach as she pressed against the wall, trying to catch her breath. What's going on? She managed to gasp, heart hammering like a drum against her ribs. The stranger turned to face them, a blend of urgency and sincerity in their gaze. We don't have a lot of time. He'll track us here. Their voice was low but steady, a calm in the storm that raged outside. Ethan stood protectively in front of her, eyes narrowed as he assessed the stranger. And who are you? Why should we trust you? Because I can help you, the figure replied, stepping closer. My name is Alex. I know what that man wants, and I know how to stop him. Lily's breath came in short gasps. She wanted to believe Alex, but fear twisted in her gut. What does he want? She demanded, looking between Ethan and Alex, searching for answers. Alex let out a shaky breath, as if the weight of the world rested on their shoulders. He's after a device, a map that leads to something powerful. Something that could change everything. Lily felt the hairs on her arms stand up. Change what? What are we talking about? Before Alex could answer, the door they had just slipped through rattled. A heavy thud echoed, reverberating through the room, sending a jolt of panic through her. He's here. Quick, in there. Alex motioned to a small door at the far end of the room. It was half open, revealing a space that looked even darker than the room they were in. Wait. Ethan grabbed Lily's arm. We can't just run blindly. What if it's a trap? We don't have time. Alex shouted, urgency spilling from their voice. Please. You have to trust me. Another crash sent shivers down her spine. The door splintered, and the man's voice roared from beyond. I know you're in there. You can't escape. You're all mine. Lily felt the walls closing in. Ethan, we have to go. He hesitated for a breath, looking at her, yearning for safety. Then the instinct to survive kicked in. All right. They both shouted together, rushing towards the small door. As they squeezed through, the darkness swallowed them, shadows dancing like ghosts around them. Lily felt her way through, heart racing. What now? We need a plan, Alex said, keeping a low voice. But first, we have to lose him. The space was cramped, confined, and every step felt heavy with uncertainty. Where does this lead? Lily asked, dread pooling in her stomach. An old passage, Alex replied, urgency twisting their features. It connects to the underground tunnels in the city. If we can reach them, we'll be safe. A shiver ran down Lily's spine. Underground? The fear of the unknown tightened its grip. What if we run into something worse down there? Or we could die here. Ethan snapped, his eyes wild. We're out of options. Suddenly, loud shouting erupted behind them, the man's voice filled with fury. You think you can hide? I'll find you. I always find you. The words clawed at her mind as they crawled through the darkness. Every footstep echoed, reminding her of the man's relentless pursuit. Hurry! She urged, pulse racing, pushing past Ethan and Alex, the faint light of escape flickering ahead. They burst into a wider tunnel, and the air shifted. It was cooler, fresh, but the fear clung to her like a second skin. She turned back to Alex. What's the real plan? You're hiding something. Alex stopped, a hint of desperation in their eyes. The device has powers you can't imagine. If it falls into the wrong hands, we'll all be doomed. Her heart sank. What do you mean doomed? Before Alex could respond, the tunnel shook, and the sound of footsteps thundered behind them. The man was close, too close. Run! Ethan shouted, grabbing Lily's hand tightly. They dashed further down the tunnel, shadows closing in. But every step felt heavier, fear seeping into her bones. Ahead, a fork in the passage widened like a gaping mouth. Which way? Lily panted, panic filling her voice. Alex hesitated, glancing between the two paths. I don't know. With the man's footsteps pounding even closer, doubt gnawed at her. Torn between the two paths, chaos threatened to engulf them all. Choose. Ethan yelled, eyes flickering with desperation. Which way? That question hung in the air, thick and heavy, as the echoes of danger loomed ever closer, ready to swallow them whole. What would they decide? Would it lead them to safety or something worse? Lily's heart raced, the weight of panic intertwined with an urgency that felt suffocating. The booming footsteps came closer, their echoes pressing around them like a vice. She pushed her hair back, brain scrambling. We need to choose. A fierce resolve ignited within her. Left, she shouted suddenly, pointing down the narrow path lined with jagged stones. We go left. Ethan looked at her, uncertainty etched into his features, but then he nodded, seizing her hand. Okay. We trust you. He pulled her into the corridor, and they sprinted forward, adrenaline propelling them through the darkness. The left tunnel twisted and turned, the air thickening with dampness and shadows. The sounds of their pursuer faded into the distance, replaced by the rapid rhythm of their hearts. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that danger still lurked close by. Is this the right way? Ethan gasped, glancing back as they skidded around a bend. It has to be. Lily replied, desperation fueling her steps. They continued, navigating the endless dark, and the oppressive atmosphere thinned slightly, the air becoming less stifling, more open. Suddenly, they stumbled into a wide chamber aglow with flickering lights, tiny bulbs strung from the damp ceiling, illuminated walls that seemed to hum with history. Metal pipes snaked around like veins, and old machinery stood idle, forgotten. "What is this place?" Alex whispered, stepping cautiously into the chamber, eyes wide with wonder. Lily took a deep breath, the coolness of the air revitalizing her aching lungs. Maybe this can lead us to the exit?" Before they could explore further, distant voices called out, cutting through their moment of relief. The voice of their pursuer echoed through the chambers. "I know you're down here. You can't escape. Quick!" Ethan urged, determination flickering in his eyes. "We have to find a way out. Look!" Alex pointed across the chamber where a series of doors loomed, each one marked with strange symbols. One door stood slightly ajar, an inviting glow spilling out. "Let us go!" Lily shouted, urgency driving her forward. They rushed toward the door, the sound of their footsteps echoing behind them, mixing with the heavy threat of their pursuer. As they reached it, they hesitated for a moment to catch their breath. "What if this leads us deeper?" Alex questioned, scanning the area for an exit. "Better than facing him," Ethan replied, and with that, he pushed the door open. The moment they stepped through, a torrent of warmth rushed over them. It opened into another tunnel, a brighter one, lit by natural light streaming from a small grate above. They could hear the excited sounds of the city outside. "Let us move," Lily urged again, the noise pushing her forward. They sprinted through, adrenaline pumping, reaching the grate that led back to the surface. With one swift motion, they pushed the grate up and out. Freedom. Fresh air filled their lungs, invigorating and sweet. But they weren't out of the woods yet. The street lay ahead, bustling with civilians unaware of the chaos just beneath their feet. "Stick together," Lily instructed, gripping Ethan and Alex's hands tightly. They stepped onto the sidewalk, blending into the crowd, but the threat still loomed. They turned a corner and darted into a coffee shop, hoping to gather their thoughts. Catching their breath at a small table, the weight of what had happened pressed in. "He's not going to give up," Alex said, their voice steady but edged with worry. "What we stumbled upon back there, it's bigger than any of us realized." "What do we do now?" Lily asked, feeling that old anxiety rise again. Ethan looked at them both, the fire in his spirit unyielding. "We need to expose them. We need to reveal the truth about that device." Lily nodded, feeling emboldened. "But how?" Alex leaned forward, their eyes alight with determination. "We find allies, gather evidence, spread the word. Together, we can fight back." Hope flickered in Lily's chest, warming her soul. "Then let us do it. For us, and for anyone else out there caught in this danger." As they took their first steps toward the next chapter of their lives, they knew the road would be tough. There would be darkness and looming threats, but together, they would weave through it. "First, we need to let everyone know what is happening. We can't let fear control our lives any longer," Ethan declared, the fire in his eyes igniting their collective resolve. "Agreed. No more hiding," Lily said, determination coursing through her. They took a deep breath, stepping out into the sun, ready to face the storm ahead. This was just the beginning of their fight, and they would face it together, and that's where their true journey began. Now's the moment to take action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss my next exclusive tales. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this concludes. Let us grow this community together.